Welcome, everyone, to Tarot and the Moons. My name is Ingrid. Let's get started. On March 3rd, 2026, we have a full moon in Leo, according to Vedic astrologers, and a full moon in Virgo, according to Western tropical astrology. And for me, the full moon or the moon is all about our emotions, right? And I believe that our collective emotions are swinging between these two astrological archetypes. And they possess the key to helping us regulate our emotions, our nervous system during these very challenging times in human history. Now, in esoteric astrology, particularly the teachings of Alice Bailey, the full moon is understood as a moment of intensified spiritual alignment. And it is at this stage that the full moon and the sun stand in opposition to each other, symbolizing some sort of polarity existing within the frequency of the moon. And one could also say that this opposition engagement with the sun creates a point of illumination, a time when some sort of hidden pattern is being revealed to us with access to our collective consciousness. So a full moon in Leo is emphasizing an evolution of yourself. In traditional astrology, Leo is ruled by that sun energy, representing identity, vitality, and creative expression. Leo is also thought to be a veil of spiritual forces that governs the development of who we are. And this emergence of the individual, self-conscious individual, at its lowest expression is the egoic dominant aspect. And it's a personality, the Leo is a personality that is centered on leadership. And really, at its highest expression, Leo radiates some sort of courage or heart-centered leadership within ourselves. And the planetary influence of the sun is central to this particular full moon, I feel. And under a Leo, the solar force illuminates the structure of our ego, of our identity, of who we want to be collectively, right? And so this important point is about the shift of humanity. Who do we want to be? Then we're looking at the full moon in Virgo. And Virgo has a very different tone than the Leo energy. Virgo is associated with analysis and practical sort of intelligence. And in esoteric astrology, Virgo is ruled by the moon. But in Western astrology, it's really Mercury bringing this mental clarity and this discernment into our awareness. Virgo is often described as the womb of time in esoteric astrology. And it's a space where there are going to be higher consequences in this material plane. And Mercury is this planetary influences that seeks to sort of purify the aspect of the Virgo qualities. And in that purification, there's a refinement and a discipline to service to humanity. And under a full moon in Virgo, according to esoteric astrology, this is an illumination that is going to expose imperfections, insufficiencies, misplaced devotions. So you're going to see a lot of people just because Mercury is in the mix here, really being mentally confronted with their idealism and who they were looking at in terms of leadership, right? And so it's going to be exposing more imperfections with a Mercury full moon this time around. And this exposure is not meant to be a punishment. It's meant to really prepare us, to prepare our emotional intelligence with humility so that we can cultivate a spiritual embodiment, right, of an identity we are choosing to become. And when a full moon coincides with a total lunar eclipse, as is this particular moon, this is an intensification of our collective process. And the lunar eclipse symbolically represents a temporary obscurity of the moon itself, right? Where the personality or the emotional body is in the earth shadow. It is in the earth's very own shadow. This is understood as a moment of karmic awareness, and also a moment where we accelerate an important revelation for humanity. And in the case of a Leo full moon eclipse, right, the solar principle of identity and leadership becomes central to the theme of this full moon. And in fact, themes of authority, sovereignty, public visibility is present here. And there's that thing of the ego-driven structures being exposed for what they are because they are not heart-centered leadership. And we are being called to move toward that direction. The sun's influences presses the human race to examine how we are utilizing power. Is it for the greater good, or is it to be of service to self? And in the Virgo full moon eclipse energy, Mercury's analytical influence is asking us to look at service, to look at health, look at labor, look at practical functionalities, right? These are all themes within Virgo, and see how collectively we can clarify these aspects. Ideological extremes just doesn't fit in to this dynamic. And so there's going to be this exposure of the imperfection. And the emphasis is not to be dramatic like that Leo energy, but to be careful and responsible like that Virgo energy. So Leo's planetary influence centered around the sun is an awakening of our heart-centered identity, while the Virgo's planetary influence through Mercury is trying to get us focused on a refinement, on a discernment to sacred service. When this is all intensified by this lunar eclipse, each sign, meaning Leo and Virgo, is going to bring us an evolutionary lesson to sharpen our collective awareness. And this is where we really have to be regulating our emotions. Leo is going to challenge us in this full moon. And Virgo is going to call for us to purify our intelligence and to decide and choose to be of service to humanity. Now, the word that for me came up when I was doing this meditation was judgmental. And it carried some sort of deeper meaning than this ordinary idea that we have when we have judgmental, which is criticism, which is it can be a Virgo trait. But for me, it was referring to the soul's capacity to discern, to discriminate, and to consciously evaluate what is happening instead of falling into the space of judgment and criticism. So, judgmental in the sense of discernment, discrimination, and conscious evaluation is the energy of the word that came up for this particular full moon. Yeah, this is what I'm getting. We want to stay away from a lower expression of both of these archetypal patterns of the Leo and the Virgo, and instead tap into its more higher expression, right? So Leo's judgmental expression is of an honest, self-recognized individual, and the capacity to assess your truthfulness, to distinguish between your personality and your soul, to choose actually in alignment with a higher purpose. So Leo's refined judgment is not a condemnation of another, but it's an illumination of your true self. Versus, or by contrast, Virgo is, which does govern refinement, is asking us on a higher level to refine our inner spiritual life. And so we want to be discerning with our spiritual engagement, the ability to separate the essential from the superficial, to purify what is misaligned in that sacred spiritual community, even. So for me, the higher aspect of the judgmental aspect of Virgo is loving discernment, to be careful about who you decide to follow, and to be careful about who you want to blame, and rather tap into transforming judgment from that egoic criticism into a conscious evaluation that is guided by your heart, your soul, and it's turning this negativity into some sort of discipline for the purpose of spiritual engagement. Yeah, that was the energy of that word judgmental, right? So let's go into that higher frequency of judgmental, especially because as I'm recording this whole thing with the Middle East is happening. I put my March monthly forecast, and just on a cursory level mentioned the Middle East, and it was instantaneously shadow banned, as I suspect me having just mentioned that word, that region right now, will probably shadow ban this one, this video. But yeah, it's getting to that point where, what is the truth that we see versus what is the truth that others want us to engage with, right? So we have to have that judgment within us to discern what is real and what is not real, what is our truth, and what is the truth that is wanting to be presented to us. All right, let's move on to the next segment, the next slide, where I'm going to talk a little bit about our tarot players for the month, for this particular full moon on March 3rd, 2026. So when we have a Leo full moon, or Leo, the sun, rules two tarot archetypes, and that is the Strength card. Can you guys see this okay? Let me just move this over. The Strength card and the Sun card. Let me get my little wand here. So I don't have to put my... So when we're dealing with the Strength card, this card deals with courage, influence, and oftentimes compassion. I have the word tamed here in the Arc-en-Ciel Tarot deck because it's also an opportunity for us to tame the wild aspects of who we are. And in the Sun element, this often represents joy, success, and vitality. On the more challenging frequency, the Strength card is about weakness, right? The opposite of strength, self-doubt, and abuse of power, rage, and even anger. When we're dealing with the Sun energy on its more challenging side, it is sadness, lack of clarity, and just negativity, right? Because the opposite of joy would be that sadness or negativity. So those are the influences of Leo and the Tarot. And now we have the influences of Virgo. And Virgo only really has one card in Tarot, which is the Hermit. However, Mercury, which rules Virgo, also rules the Magician, and let me just move this over a little bit, the Magician and the Lover's card. So when we're dealing with the Hermit over here, we are dealing with this energy that is more about soul searching, really. And it's about being introspective. Obviously, I wrote the word contemplative, and in the space of solitude. In its more challenging side, this is loneliness, right? Solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. So the loneliness feeling can be a challenging aspect of the hermit. Isolation and just feeling lost, right? Just being in the darkness without that lantern. Then we have the magician. The magician is all about skills. You have my word here is skilled, right? So it's all about skill sets. It's all about manifestation and resourcefulness. At its more challenging, it can be about manipulation. It can be about deception. It can be about being unprepared, because, the magician is always prepared with his tools. And lastly, we have here the Lover's card. And on its more um, higher vibrational aspect, it is about union or unity, harmony, and choices. For me, this has always been about the choices that we make. Are we making loving choices, or are we making choices that the collective wants us to make, right? So this is all about choices. On its more challenging, it can be about imbalance, it can be about conflict, it can be about misalignment in not following our heart's purpose. All right. So, as you know, I will be choosing one of these 5 cards for you for the full moon reading for March 3rd, 2026. And that energy goes until the next new moon. All right, let's go on to the next slide and let's play. Okay, so we're going to start with Virgo, and let's see, make our way around, and we're going to end with a Leo. And the card decks that I'm using is I'm using this card deck. It's called the Pastel Dreams Tarot deck, and the Arcana Folia Oracle deck. And I really was pulled to trying to engage more with this sort of mystical aspect, because the energies of the Leo and the Virgo can get a little bit heavy. So I just wanted to lighten it up a little bit. And then, of course, we have the Arcana Tarot deck as well. All right, Virgo, here we go. Actually, I'm going to, and as usual, I've pre-shuffled everything. And here we go. What's your tarot card? The Queen of Cups energy, right? So a lot of emotions riding on this new moon and the Virgo energy. And I kind of just feel like this is, you are the star. Let me just put the sun vibration here. You are the star of the show, right? With that full moon in Leo, in Virgo, according to Western tropical astrologers. So I want you to just really focus on the light, focus on being sort of really regulating your emotions in this particular engagement. I'm not sure what's going on, but I want you to anchor with this energy of the sun, especially because it's the full moon in Virgo that is being obscured, right? So when we have this combination here, with this energy of the Sun and the Queen of Cups, emotions are going to be very much highlighted for you. We just want to be able to stay on the more positive aspects of our inner emotions, right? Let's see what your guidance says or has for you. And you've got here opportunity. The chance is in your hands. So literally, she's holding a cup in her hands, and this is kind of reminding me of I kind of feel like whatever this emotional waters thing is, it's really about the home life. And you have to remember your own pearl. You have to remember your own like inner gem and not get caught up in the drama of the home. It could even be a drama with relationship, right? Okay, let's go on to the next one. We have Libra next. Let's see what your card says. You've got judgment. Wow, this is very, very, very apropos. I'm gravitating towards the strength card here to that word that I received, right? Judgmental. So we want to stay on its higher frequency. We want to be the one to discern. We want to not engage in something that can trigger us or make us angry or make us hypercritical for this particular full moon. We want to really be able to tame the thing that's going to maybe upset you and find your inner power, find the discernment in order for you to weigh what it is that we need to change. And your guidance is companion, a discerning friend. We were literally just talking about discernment. So maybe the thing that might upset you or keep you sort of in not in balance is a companionship or a friendship. And you really want to be able to pull back on any sort of angry words that you may have and go into that higher frequency of judgment. Go into that space of forgiveness, which is a higher frequency of judgment. Okay. Next we have Scorpio, and this is for sun, moon, or rising. I do focus on the moon energy, but I've been told the sun and the rising also speaks to people. So I'm putting that out there as an invitation, but I am focusing on the Scorpio, for example, moon energies. And you have the Six of Pentacles. So this is very much about you being in your home life, you being in, and again, I'm being drawn to the sun energy, you being in the space of nurturing yourself or nurturing your body. I would even do, since this is coming out here, I would even do yoga or something where meditation is being called for so you can really start nurturing the inner aspect of yourself, and especially like the body, like doing movements or sacred movements to facilitate the nurturing of the body as that is coming through. Let's see what your guidance is. Treasure, protect your energy and space. There you go, right? So this is all about protecting your body, your space, your body of work, even your physical space. You're really being called to protect your space and to not fall into like old habits and old routines. All right, I'm just drinking some water. And next we have Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising. Let's see what the cards have for you. And you've got the Page of Pentacles. So there's a message here that's coming to you. There's information that's being sort of sent your way. And I'm really focusing here on the hermit, because the hermit, sometimes when they go into their cave, right, they're in there studying something. And the Page of Pentacles is an energy that's like observing something. I don't know if it's observing your finances or observing your body of work or observing even your environment. But you want to observe and you want to learn something during this full moon season. and that what it is that you're learning could be something of a spiritual nature or something that enlightens you or gives you a new perspective. See your guidance. Plot twist, unexpected development. Interesting, because I did see this like studying here going on. So there's something here for you, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, coming into this full moon period that you are to change up. Because you have been illuminated, because there's something that you've been reviewing and studying, you've got to change maybe your trajectory or your path. It's no longer the one you thought you were going to take. Next, we have Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Let's see what your card says. The Devil archetype, and that's your card, right? So I'm gravitating toward the Sun here. That's actually your card. In Tarot, you are represented by the Devil archetype, which is make sure you don't chain yourself to hatred or get unlovable experiences or unforgiving qualities. You don't want to be in that space. You really want to lean into the love frequency. You want to lean into the space of innocence. You want to lean into the illumination from within. Don't fall into depression. It's kind of telling me to take care of your mind, your mental state, right? Which is oftentimes tied to your emotional state. So pay attention to that and learn how to specifically during this time period regulate that somehow. Again, communicate with family. Have the hard conversations you need to have with family so you can release this feeling of feeling trapped. And what's your guidance? Slow and steady. Patience is key. Yeah, so don't feel rushed right now. When you feel ready, when you feel that you are aligned with your inner light, then might be the perfect time to maybe address these heavier topics that are percolating during this time period. And next we have Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Let's see what you have here. Ace of Pentacles. Wow, Aquarius, you're starting something new. It's a new business. It's a new engagement. I'm gravitating here towards the Lover's card. It's a new body of work even. There's something here that regenerated you that's kind of giving you this space to really fall in love again with your work. And one of the things that I want you to really take into consideration is that word judgmental and see what it is that you need to discern in order to make the loving choices for yourself. It may not be what you've done in the past. It could be something completely different. And your guidance is zoom in. The answer is there if you look closer. So the choices that you have to make, the loving choices that you're being guided to make, you're being guided here to really look at the fine details. That's very much a Virgo energy, to look at the details, to be quite discerning when you're going to start this new endeavor or this new project or this new something happening here that's beginning for you. Look at the details with a magnifying glass. You can even see the magnifying glass here. So be very discerning before you make your choice. And the next archetype that we're dealing with is Pisces. See what you have, Pisces. You've got the sun energy, which is the energy of Leo. So you are being showcased, you are being seen this time around. And I'm gravitating towards the magician because you're being seen because of the skills you've put in, because of the hard work that you've put in. People are seeing you as not only entertainment, but someone who's very skilled at what they do. So that's beautiful for the Piscean energies. Let's see what your guidance is. Oops, that was the zoom in. I put it in the wrong location. Eccentric person, a person with a different worldview, and that's why you're being seen. People are seeing you differently. People are seeing that you're bringing the magic. people are illuminating what you have to bring because it's different, because others haven't seen it before. Because, by the way, you're Piscean, right? You're just an ocean of wealth of information that you're bringing through, and people are really appreciating you this time around for this particular full moon. Nice. And next we have Aries, sun, moon, or rising sign. Aries, what do you have? Let me just check my computer here, make sure we're recording. Yes. Aries, you've got the Two of Pentacles. So Aries, there's some sort of an agreement. I'm being drawn here to the beloved card, the sun card. There's some sort of an agreement, is what I felt. Even though you're juggling these finances, it came really strongly that there's an agreement or a handshake on some financial matter that's coming your way. Yeah, and it just feels like it's clear, illuminated. There's nothing is being hidden from you. Let's see what your guidance is. A home, or it just says home actually, and it says appreciate comfort and sense of belonging. So maybe it's the agreement has to do with getting a new home or being offered um, a new opportunity to go to a new home. So yeah, be aware that whatever is happening during this full moon period, this could be the trigger point. And it could be a new home because of a beloved situation or a love interest. Cool. All right. Next we have Taurus, sun, moon, or rising. Let's see what your card shares with. Six of Wands. Six of Wands is a card of victory, right? You're coming in there. It's victorious. I'm bringing in the strength card. You are showcasing your strength. You're showing people who you are, what you're made out of, what you can do. You're showing people your sacred strength, your spiritual strength as well. This is a very fiery engagement, a very sort of celebratory engagement, and you are the one holding the wand of creation in this particular case. So, wow, whatever's going on for you during this full moon period, you will end up as the victor. The victory is yours. And look at that. The card, the guidance that you got was celebration. Enjoy your victories with others. Beautiful. I almost feel like, with that with that guidance in that oracle, you are guaranteed a victory. You are definitely showcasing your strength. So beautiful. And I'm drawn here to that heart energy as well. Because you're celebrating because you did whatever it is that you're doing during this period of time, you're doing it with heart. Lovely. Next, we have Gemini, sun, moon, or rising. Let's see, your card is the Four of Swords. So this is very much going into the space of meditation, going into the quiet space. You're done with the drama. You don't want to deal with it anymore. You just want to rest. And this is that energy that I want you to be careful. Don't go into the space of loneliness, but go into the space of you are entitled to retreat. You are entitled to be in solitude in order to gather your thoughts, right? Anytime we see the swords, we're dealing with thoughts. So you're allowed to go into that space to gather your thoughts, to gather your quiet mind and really understand it and be part of it. So this is part of this contemplation. Let's see what your guidance is telling you. A gift, precious offering. So yeah, I would say go ahead and retreat and be in the quiet space, because in doing so you will get a gift. And when the hermit goes into his cave, he does come out with the light of illumination, right? So you will be illuminated. You are totally entitled to retreat, right? And to not be in the space of um insecurity with the thoughts and the ideas or belief systems that have been keeping you up at night. And next we have, oops, I messed this up. Next we have Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Let's see what you have. You have the Knight of Swords. So Cancers, babies, you're gravitating toward choices here. The Lovers card. You really just don't want to deal with the drama either. There was another archetype here that just didn't want to deal with the drama, especially family drama, really wanting to walk away from that, really wanting to set yourself apart. Well, just do it. Start doing the loving choices that you feel good about, that nurtures you, that embraces your ideas, your belief systems, and your thought patterns. This is really going to depend on whether or not you have the bravery. Maybe I can even put in the strength card here for a second. Whether or not you have the bravery to do it on your own, to be disconnected from that thing that's not really serving you anymore. And by that, I mean that's really pulling you back from fulfilling your dreams and the things that you love and your choices. Let's see what your guidance is. Soulmate, someone from your soul tribe. For me, what I got was be loyal to yourself. Be loyal to your soul. Be loyal to what you desire moving forward. And that was for Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising signs. And last and never least, we have Leo. Let's see what you have. You have the Four of Cups. So this is this idea of really not liking your options, not liking what choices being brought to the Lovers energy here, not liking the choices that you have to make or that you're being asked to make. So my guidance to you is don't feel disappointed. To the contrary, know that you have other options. Know that you can choose that which makes you happy. Sometimes people think, oh, I should go the traditional route, or I should do something that's more traditional because that way I'll be seen, I'll be known, I'll be this, I'll be that. Well, you're being asked to travel on the path that no one else has traversed before. And that means be unique, be in your own sovereignty, and be engaged with what you really truly want. And in that space, you will be able to discern, right? Be judgmental and discern what it is that you wish to do. And your guidance is temptation, alluring thoughts and actions. This is, oh my God, if there was if there was a word, right? Temptation for the Four of Cups, it's like you are being tempted to do other things, or you might be tempted to stay in this sort of disappointing energy rather than be tempted by the fruit of something that is a lot more juicier for you, a lot more vibrant, and a lot more energetic for you than staying in the space of this water just because other people have said that's the secure path, that's the sure way. No, the sure way is always going to be to follow your sovereign self and your authority. All right, that's all I have for you folks. I will chat with you on the new moon coming up later this month. And please, please, please continue the prayers. Stay safe. I love you. Until next time. Bye.